And he goes, no, it's no cure for it. And the life expectancy is 2 to 5 years. Anybody that looks at me wouldn't even know that I have this disease. It's just, I replay that scene in my mind every day, from going to just not thinking it's so serious to wait, what did you just say?
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 62 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. It is freaking cold here in Atlanta today. We had the most snow that I have seen here in a long time the other day, so that was really exciting. If you saw my Snapchat story, I guess it was on my Snapchat story and my Instagram story, but there's still a little snow and ice on the ground here, so it's been pretty cool. Georgia, typically pretty hot. We normally don't get much snow. But anyways, hopefully you're having a great Sunday. I just wrapped up a very challenging hot yoga session, and I'm feeling energized. I'm feeling pumped. Glad I got to sweat a lot, and now I'm ready to conquer the day. If this is your first time listening to this show, welcome. Thanks for checking it out. Really appreciate it. I know there's a million other things that could be penetrating your eardrums right now, and you chose this podcast. And if you didn't know already, my goal here is to share meaningful, uninterrupted conversations with the most fascinating people that I know, people who are inspiring, people who are making a difference, people who don't just say things, they do things. That's what we're all about here. But anyways, with that being said, my guest today is somebody who I have wanted on my podcast since day one, since before day one, literally. On April 15th, 2017, almost 8 months ago, I told this guy my plans for the podcast, and I actually found the message that I sent to him a minute ago. I'll read it to you. So I said, "Hey man, I'm starting a podcast and I want you to be one of my guests. Hopefully I can fly out and visit soon. My plan is to start it locally and then fly out to my friends all around the world to get them on the podcast. It'll be really fun." Crazy, right? So I never made good on my promise to fly out there, but luckily I'm still working on my plan and I'm more clear on this vision more than ever. So, and it's been taking me a little more effort to figure out how to make it a possibility to travel full time with my podcast, but luckily through just putting my head down and putting in the work, a lot of things are popping up. So, putting in the work is paying off. But anyways, back to my guest. His name is Darius Gilchrist, and I met Darius a few years ago when we were working at a gym together. And if he wouldn't have told me, I would have never known that he had been recently diagnosed with ALS, and the doctors had given him 2 to 5 years to live. Let that one sink in. Seriously, this young guy, I would have never known that he was supposed to die soon, which is crazy. And since meeting Darius, he's become quite the world traveler and conquering his bucket list one item at a time. And instead of just feeling sorry for himself and letting this disease take over his body, he got his ass in gear and he decided that he needed to live the best life that he could with the time he was given. And he's traveled more than the average person ever will in their whole lifetime. He's gone skydiving. He's gone to tons of music festivals. He moved out to California to pursue his career and much more. And we talked about all kinds of stuff during this episode, including his upbringing, how he came out of the closet in high school, his experience in college, his diagnosis, and of course his adventures all over the planet. And his story is still continuing, but I knew that this platform would be a really good place for him to share it, and I hope you all enjoy this conversation. So without any further ado, please welcome my friend Darius Gilchrist.
Let's do this.
Exactly. All right, well, I'm here with my friend Darius Gilchrist. That's how you properly pronounce it, right?
Yes. I got called out for school because it's spelled Gil. like a gill, like a fish, and then there's like crest, like the toothpaste. So it was like pretty dramatic, traumatizing growing up. So, but
That's funny.
Yes, you got it correct, Gilchrist.
Gilchrist.
Yes.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Darius is home from California. I almost said Colorado.
Yeah, I wish sometimes. No, yeah, Cali's cool though. It's like a big difference from like the South. One is not as humid. I don't feel like I'm going to like just die. You seen that gift where that guy's just like melting?
Yeah,
and he's just like sweating. Yeah, that's how I felt here. But California it's a different beast. It's like having 5 different Atlantas in one state with so many beaches, and then just like
As far as just having big cities, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So,
and where exactly do you live again?
So I am close to the Bayish area. I'm about 2 hours south of San Francisco, which
nice.
If you don't really know California, you think, okay, 2 hours, that's pretty far, but California literally takes up most of the West Coast. So you're going to be driving anywhere.
Exactly. And are you pretty much like on the beach, or are you like
No, I'm like
farther away?
What they call in the Central Valley almost, where like cows and like, so your fruit, even in Georgia and all the produce, most of it comes from California for where I live. So any apple that you're eating and grapefruit, you think is coming from the local Georgia farm grower down the street. No, it's coming from California, like the Central Valley. So that's kind of where I live.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know lots of produce comes from California, but you don't really think about it. And you know what's even weirder is some like meat that you get from like Trader Joe's. Sometimes it's from like different countries and stuff. It's like it's more economical for whatever reason for them to ship like fish from like freaking across the world somehow.
Right. It's like
doesn't seem to make sense.
A Georgia peach. No, it's California.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So just to kind of give people some context, where were you born? Where'd you grow up? All that kind of stuff.
All right, so I was born in Decatur, Georgia. We call it like the east side of Atlanta, I guess. What all the rappers and stuff say.
East side?
But I know, but I wasn't like in a bad area, contrary to believe. I was born and raised here, grew up here, went to high school at Martin Luther King High School in Lithonia, Georgia. And then for 2 years, I went down to Daytona Beach, Florida for college. But this was like, the campus was literally 5 minutes across from the beach. So you never had to go home for anything. It's like all the spring breakers and everything like that, they came to you. So needless to say, I had to go back to Georgia because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I finished my college career at Georgia State. And
nice.
Then I went to school for occupational therapy, and now I'm out here in California. Well, not here, but
out there.
It's weird now because I have to say here. I was like, I had to get my California driver's license, and it was like the oh shit moment. Like, dang, I'm no longer a Georgia resident.
Yeah,
this is weird.
That's super weird because when you went to Florida, you were still a Georgia resident, right?
Yeah,
like
because
you
it
were
was just
you were
like
just
college.
for school.
Yeah,
that's funny, man.
I know.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, but it's
you're a transplant.
I know,
but
usually
I
feel
like a lot of Californians are transplants, though.
Yeah, but like Atlanta is a big transplant, though.
For sure.
I feel like everybody comes here, and I'm like the only person out of like my crew, my friends that actually left. So it's like it's hard sometimes, though. You're out there by yourself. Really no family. I'm texting you all like 3 hours ahead of me, and I'm like seeing if y'all are still up or is it too late. It's different, that I'm adjusting, but I think I made the right decision.
Yeah. And like it's weird. Sometimes I kind of wish I was from like a middle of nowhere kind of place so that I could make that like transition. Yeah. Like I'm making the move to the big city or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I already kind of grew up in the Atlanta area, so it doesn't feel, even if I was to like move into the city, whereas I grew up in the suburbs, it feels different, but it's like, I'm not really going anywhere crazy. Like mom and dad are still like 30 minutes up the road, you know?
Yeah.
Like at night with no traffic, you can get there in like 25 minutes, so.
Exactly.
But with traffic is a whole nother story.
Right. Yeah.
As Atlanta residents can attest to. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are from Atlanta. So what's up, everybody in Atlanta?
Yo.
But one thing that I don't know if you've listened to any of the podcasts that I've done so far, but one thing that was my initial like spark, I guess, for doing the podcast, like one of the reasons why I wanted to start was I felt like everybody has a story. Like everybody has something you can learn from. Everybody has some kind of experience or whatever that shaped them into who they are today. And like when I look at Darius, like I didn't know you before a few years ago, so I never like knew who you were as a kid or like growing up and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I think it's kind of like cool to kind of go back a little bit and just like kind of not explain yourself, but like like how did you come up, like what all that kind of stuff. So like you said you went to you were on the east side, Decatur area, went to Martin Luther King High School, right? But like before that, what kind of stuff were you into? Like what'd you do?
So it's pretty
interesting. Were you a weird kid?
Yeah. I mean, I was that kid that like tried to fit in with like the crowd. Like it was a group of neighborhood kids, about like 12 of us. They had a huge basketball court in the neighborhood. You know, we'd be playing games and I like just sucked ass at everything. It's just like basketball, football, whatever you named it. But I tried. And, growing up with the Pee Wee leagues and everything like that, I remember like one day we were playing baseball and I hit the ball into the outfield and I was running and I turned first base and then my hat dropped off and then I went back to get it and then the guy tagged me out and I didn't even understand why. I was like, but it's for safety reasons, I need my helmet. And he was like, no, you're out. And I was like, damn, that's how bad I suck.
But you paused the game.
No,
when the safety
I was like,
is paused.
I need my helmet. Like,
I'm gonna get hit in the head.
Exactly. So
that's funny.
Needless to say, I never gave up though. I was like trying to fit in. I can always tell I'm kind of awkward and really kind of a little bit weird, but But
everyone's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day, like how much being good at sports matters when you're a kid. Yes. Especially growing up being a boy or whatever. Like you have this social status if you're good at athletic sports.
Right.
And then it like, I hate to be this guy, but like last night I was at the gym and I was talking to this guy and I know growing up he was like awesome at sports. He was just like the stud. And like now he's kind of just like doing the same stuff that like I'm doing. Right. Like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about the podcast. He's like, dude, I think that's so cool, all this stuff. And it's kind of like, it is weird because going back, I'm thinking to myself like, damn, this kid used to be like, have it going on. Right. And like now we're kind of just like equal level peers.
Yeah. That's how I feel, man. I just remember like being in 4th grade and just waking up one day and I just couldn't breathe. When you're a kid, you're just like bumping your like butt down the stairs, just trying to like have fun and slide down the steps. I was actually doing that because I couldn't even like walk. I was like my breathing, like what in the world is going on?
When you were in 4th grade?
Yes. Whoa. And come to figure out, it was like I had a major asthma attack.
Whoa.
So I was just like, I was in the hospital for like a week and like a couple of days. Like all the little kids, sent like cards when I get well wishes. And like after that, I just went to music. Like I didn't even try any sports because I would just be heaving, like running around the bases or kickball, whatever like that. So
before that, had you experienced any like respiratory issues or anything?
It just came out of nowhere.
Huh.
Like I just could not walk down the steps one day. And my mom was like, get up. I was like, she used to like in the morning, she thinks you're playing. I was like, nah. I'm like, this
I can't get up.
Like, my legs could not physically hold my body up.
Wow. But so when you have an asthma attack, what happens?
It just feels like you're just grasping for air and
your lungs won't like fill?
Yeah, they won't inflate, deflate, and you feel like your diaphragm is just like stuck and stagnant. When you breathe, it's supposed to go up and down and allow the oxygen intake to flow in your lungs. That doesn't happen. It just feels like somebody is like literally trying to kill you and you don't even know why.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But,
so that was in 4th grade, and then after that you called it quits with sports. You're like, nah.
Yeah. Well, but I liked watching them and like analyzing them. So it just wasn't like, okay, I'm one of those people that just don't give a crap about sports. I love sports to this day. I just don't play them. Yeah. It's really awkward when you like go to play with the boys now and you're older and you're like, I'll just sit on the side, because if you don't, hone those skills for so many years, you're going to really suck. So it's like, I'm not even going to embarrass myself, but I'll go with y'all and watch y'all.
I feel you.
I know, right?
I feel like a lot of that too is like reliving childhood like games and stuff. Yeah. Like when you're going to play basketball or whatever with your friends, it's like you're just going and trying to relive like the good old days.
It's just like, I'm not even going to do that to myself. Because in the day and age of like cell phones and recording and stuff like that, like I'm not gonna let you voluntarily embarrass me when I can do something to help that prevent that. It's just like, nah. I mean, I'm not any celebrity, but I still want to maintain an image, But at the end of the day,
I feel you. You're not trying to be on a viral video, like
exactly
face planting or something like that.
Charlotte takes a tumble, or like getting hit like in the face with a golf ball or something, like something stupid like that. Yeah.
I feel you. I can relate to that. Recently I started doing yoga. And one thing that like I knew about yoga was like, at least when you're in yoga, it's like somewhat of like a dark room, and you're not afraid of like, people can judge you personally, but it's not like anyone's about to whip out their phone and start recording you like, look at this dumbass,
exactly.
He can't even stretch.
No, I heave wind during yoga, and I'm like usually in the back of the class because like my skills are not on par right now.
yeah, it's hard. But I think it's important to try to attempt to get better at things that you suck at. Like overcoming some sort of adversity. Especially in today's world when people have it way too easy. Like it's like the easiest time to be a human if you put it in perspective of like, all humans in the past. Like, I mean, freaking George Washington died of like common cold or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you hear about like all these things, like people die of like diarrhea, and it's like you just take that for granted. You're like, okay, whatever. Like
we take for granted of flushing a toilet in our bathroom, but like people in like third world countries die from what's that, cholera, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just
cholera.
Cholera. Yeah, and it's like, dang. Like, I'm thankful for my toilet. Like,
yeah.
Like,
for real,
you are amazing.
For real, I was thinking about that the other day, like how weird, like because I was doing this. One of my friends, he owns a Christmas tree lot. Yeah. And one of the things we do during Christmas is we'll actually deliver trees to people sometimes and set them up in their house.
Okay.
So like if they have like a small car, like whatever, they can like pay, and especially if they buy a really big tree, it's worth it to like pay for the setup and delivery because that's half the battle.
Right.
So anyways, I was like, man, if I had to like go to the bathroom right now, I'd probably have to like ask one of these people to use their bathroom. What if I had to like blow up their toilet? You know what I mean? Like, and I was thinking like, how weird is it that like humans, like we don't really take it for granted that like everywhere we go, there's like somewhere where we can use the restroom if we need to. Even if we're like driving on the highway, there's a gas station or something like that.
Right.
But like your car doesn't have a bathroom. Like if you really gotta go, like you're kind of screwed.
I have a funny story about that actually. This a couple of months ago, I was on my way. I was driving to LA to go to Europe. I spent 7 weeks in Europe, and of course, everybody tells you about LA traffic, and you're like, okay, yeah, but how could it be? I'm from Atlanta. I deal with this traffic on a daily basis. No, that is a totally different beast, animal, whatever you want to call it. So I'm like, okay, I got 2 hours to get to this LA airport, LAX, to catch my flight. Because if I miss this flight, like it throws off every single thing I want to do in Europe because I had to rebook everything. So I'm in the car, stuck in traffic, and out of nowhere, I had this huge urge to just use the bathroom. Oh, gosh. And I'm like, crap, what do I do? Luckily, I had a huge Fiji bottle, right? This is one of the 1.5 gallon ones. So, and of course, like the guy that I am, I'm just gonna pee in this damn bottle, and hopefully nobody like calls 911 on me and reports me for indecent exposure. But it was the hardest thing in trying to like step on the gas and brake while trying to pee in this bottle. It is the weirdest thing I probably ever had to do, but I had to go.
At least it was a big one, so you didn't fill it up.
All right. But I had to go so bad. And then the funniest thing about that is like, when you're a guy, and all the guys listening to this will relate this. When you finish peeing, there's still some left in there, especially if you like have it at an angle or whatever. So when I thought I was done, I released my drawstring and just like psh, everywhere. So I'm like, great. I am about to go on this 13-hour flight smelling like piss. So that was pretty hilarious. Interesting. Yeah, so
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a very interesting time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to talk about your trip because that's crazy. But I want to go back for just a second to the 4th grade thing because you said 4th grade had the asthma attack, and then like. And were there any other like obviously that was like the crazy thing. Were there any other like crazy asthma attacks or anything since then, or was that like the worst one?
That was like the worst one, honestly.
Gotcha.
I didn't, I was, blessed and fortunate to have two parents in my life that really molded me and guided me to where I like needed to be as far as like education wise and like socially. They tried their best and everything. Everybody goes through some horrible, messed up high school story about like love and breakup and all that other stuff, but that's pretty, minute compared to what like other people go through.
Yeah.
But one thing they did do is really get me into music, like piano lessons, trumpet, baritone, you name it, and it like that was my release. I knew that I was different and like, unusual from kids, but I was really good at music. So it's like, oh yeah, you don't have the latest name brand clothes, or you don't have any of that. But I was like, I'll beat your ass with some trumpet skills. It's like, awesome. Yeah, mess with it, bro. I got this B flat skill ready to go. It's like, oh, you can do double dribble through the legs. Oh, I can play You Mary Had a Little Lamb backwards. It's like, so yeah, that was me like growing up.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, and
that's really cool. Are your parents musical at all, or did they just get you into that?
They can sing and stuff like that, but as far as instruments, it's just like, I don't know where I got that from. So.
And you have a sister, right?
Yeah, I have a little sister. Yeah.
Is that your only siblings?
Yep, she's 24 right now. Well, 25 next week. We're like 7 days apart. So.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like you were getting the short end of the stick, sharing like a kind of week with your sister's birthday?
No, I feel like she did. Like,
because your birthday comes first?
Yeah, so it's like if you have a massive cake for my birthday, it's just like we're not about to eat all that cake for hers. So like, so this like past Saturday was actually my birthday. Well, yesterday was, but we celebrated on Saturday, and we just like took off my candles and then placed some more on my cake, and we sung happy birthday to her. It's just like, y'all ain't right making me sing this birthday. She's like, oh, y'all better be coming back next week for my birthday. I was just like, well, sorry about that. So I like always wonder like how she felt about that, like growing up. But she's done some stuff to me growing up where she's made it known. Like she took one of my favorite like tennis shoes and sprayed them like silver one year because she was like not happy
about your birthday.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
So like I'm walking in the closet and I'm like, all right, get ready for school. Imagine like Dorothy's slippers with just like the color like silver with all glittery in your favorite Nike tennis shoes.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. So I feel bad for her actually.
That's funny. That's really good. Another thing I was gonna say, like growing up and all that, and then you went to high school and all that. Was there any other obviously like milestones or anything that like obviously you were diagnosed with ALS. We can we're going to talk about that, but like in middle school and high school and all that stuff, was there anything like crazy that happened or anything that was like milestone?
So in about 10th grade, I knew for whatever reason, I don't want to get into debate, but I woke up one day and I was just like, this girl's pretty, but like, that's to the extent of what I'm seeing right now out of her. So it was just like, dealing with like your own sexuality and saying, feeling the pressure of like dating girls just to hide what you think, because growing up in high school and like, the African American community, like it is a big no-no for whatever reason. It's like I always hear like stories of like how my family just owed me and kicked me out the house and this and that because of who I want to be. And it's just like, I knew my parents wouldn't do that, but it's just like the stigmatism of like your friends and stuff like that. Like I said, I was already outsider basically because I didn't play any sports, and now there's a possibility of you being gay. That's like, don't think I want to do that in high school right now. But 11th grade.
So in high school, you felt like you were kind of like suppressing that?
Yeah. And I had a girlfriend. I had 2 girlfriends, and it was wonderful. I still talk to those ladies today. But it was just like, it was a weird time, knowing that what you like, you can't really act on it because you're afraid of what other people do. And
of course.
Yeah.
Even if people can't relate to that on like that kind of level of like a sexuality level, they can relate on like another type of level. Right. People, I think about this when I'm like traveling. I'm like, nobody's like judging me. I can just be who I am. Like, my family's not around, my friends aren't around. Right. Nobody here even knows me. Mm-hmm. I could act however I want to act right now, and that's true. Like how you truly are.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue. You're saying that, in high school you you felt like you were kind of couldn't act on like what you wanted to act on or whatever for fear of repercussions, people acting differently or whatever.
And I thought I was doing like the most amazing job at like hiding like that I actually liked guys, So to the point like, one day, so I had a best friend in high school, and this is when like Yahoo Messenger and email was very popular. Like, I'm dating myself right now, but it was just like I didn't know how to set up an email.
Yeah,
like this
so
is
it was just like AIM and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is like I want to say like 2004, 2005. Didn't know how to set up email. Didn't know anything about it. So I let him set it up for me. It was like, okay, cool. I can like message all my friends and stuff.
Who set it up for you?
My best friend
gotcha.
in high school. So little did I know that he actually liked guys too. But he was in the same boat as me, where we were like both trying to date girls and like, act all hard and masculine and da. So I had a girlfriend at the time, right? And one day I come to school and it's literally out of a movie. I see like paper on lockers, just taped on lockers all down the hallway, and like people laughing and reading it. And I'm looking like, what the hell? Like, is like, what are they laughing at? So I picked one up, and it was literally an email of me and this guy that I was talking to, who I was secretly dating behind my girlfriend's back.
Whoa! So, like screenshotted, basically,
like
but like old school screenshots, because it was an email.
Yeah,
screenshot.
It was just like print it, and my face just turned cold. I was like, oh my gosh! Next thing you know, my girlfriend at the time is walking down the hall. She grabs my shirt and she's like, "You gay!" In front of everybody.
It does sound like a movie.
Yeah, it does. And this is totally true. You can ask people about high school, whatever. But I'm like, no. She's like, and what is this? We had fun today, and I can't wait to see you, and we can't tell anybody about this. And I'm just like, that's your email. You email me that every night. And I'm just like, that's me. And she was like, wow. Big slap across her face. And that it's, I've come to find out, the guy, my best friend, he really wanted to be with me, and he was mad that I was like talking to another guy. This is big whole high school drama, So, but yeah, it was intense. Like, I didn't even want to go to high school for a couple of days after that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I got
Who printed them out?
My best friend that had my password that set up my Yahoo account.
So your best friend set you up like that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Because I was
he was super jealous?
Yeah, super jealous. So he printed them out because he had my password. Up. So all the whole time, he was reading all my emails the whole time.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
And that's something.
That's something.
To go through high school.
So were you mad at him?
I was, but at that point, I just didn't even care. I was mad at the world. I was mad at everybody. Just like, whatever, bump this high school. I'm never going back, whatever. But, I just sucked it up, and I was like, that was the turning point of me saying, like, I am who I am, and this is what it is. I could have easily taken that a whole different, wrong way, but that actually made me stronger from it,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so crazy that he put up all the pictures on the lockers,
I was
man.
just like,
that's
can you just
up.
imagine, like, your most intimate, like, secret moments just, like...
exposed.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Just think about what you were doing in high school.
I feel like that'd be the equivalent.
Yeah,
I feel like that'd be the equivalent of someone posting like your porn history or something, like screenshotting like the stuff you searched or something like that.
It's
like up on like all the.
It's just like, what, Andrew? Feet? Really? I didn't take it as a feet. It's specifically like bunions. Like,
bunions. Yeah. Oh god, I don't know about that.
But yeah,
how'd you have access to that, Darius?
Hey, I've been knowing you for a couple of years.
No, but like there's definitely a lot of like weird stuff, and also sometimes like especially with stuff on the internet, you kind of just think like it's all private and whatever, like no one's ever gonna find this, but it's the internet, and. The internet. It's weird because, especially in that young age of is weird because the internet is still like a baby, even though we think it's like this permanent thing. It's been around for a long time, but like really it's still in its infancy. Like we haven't seen anything yet, but it's crazy because even in like 2004, the internet's still super young. We're still using email for like main source of communication, and that happened, which like it was kind of unheard of at that point, I feel like.
Right. Yeah.
But now I feel like screenshotting your friends' messages and stuff, like sending them all around, is like pretty commonplace.
We can record screens now from our iPhones.
Yeah.
To back just in 2003, 2005, like I was playing Snake on my Nokia.
Literally.
Like, so,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
What was your first phone?
It was that Nokia like 3500, was it? It was
something like that.
Something like that.
That little candy bar shaped phone.
Yeah, where you can like take off the like outside and customize it. I think it had like a fire one or like a metallic one and stuff like that.
Remember those stands at the mall that sold the little replacement things?
Right.
Those were legit.
It was legit. Like I thought I was everything having a phone. I've got that, but I got that phone like taken so many times from my parents for like bad grades or like just like not doing what we're just supposed to be. And like that hurts, not being able to talk on the phone. What?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I can't even imagine how kids feel nowadays. Because, like, when I was in high school, we had just gotten, like, just gotten, like, iPhones, pretty much. Like,
really?
like, only if you... I remember, like, in the beginning of high school, most kids, like, some girls had, like, Blackberries. And, like, I had... in the beginning of high school, like the Envy Touch or the Envy, the first Envy that was like you flipped it open, you had the keyboard inside. So I was all about the like QWERTY keyboard, like that was legit. And then like I remember a couple of kids got like the iPhone 3G. And like I don't even remember. I think maybe one kid had like the original iPhone, and he was like, it was like his dad got it and then got the 3G, so like he gave him the iPhone or whatever. Right. And then I remember I got like a Droid phone, like the Verizon Droid, and it was a piece of crap. But like it was weird because like in high school that was when all that was just starting, and like Instagram I think started getting popular like my senior year of high school. I can only imagine what it's like now with like growing up in like 7th and 8th grade, kids on Instagram bullying each other and all kinds of stuff.
Well, they can't stay off their phones. I have plenty of friends that are teachers, and they say like getting a child to stop texting or social media in class is damn near impossible now. It's like you can't take up people's phones because then the parents, come up to the school and complain it's a safety issue, which in a way it is. But then are you going to say something about your child being on their phone all day in class too?
Is a problem of like the parents not trusting the school system to like do a good job, I think. And these parents feel so entitled in their baby and their kids so hard that they don't, oh, my poor baby, she got her phone taken away. That's an expensive phone. You know that you could break that phone, blah, blah, blah. Like, I pay for that phone. You don't pay for that phone. You don't have the authority to take it away, blah, blah, blah. I gave her that phone.
Right, exactly.
Well, your daughter's sending Snapchats in class.
And recording me, like, fuss at another kid because that kid won't put up their phone. And then, like, I get suspended from my principal because you're disrupting the class. And just a big... I didn't have to deal with that in high school.
So I can only imagine nowadays. Yeah. But you said, like, in high school, then you were just like, I don't want to go to high school, but you muscled through it.
Yeah, and it was one of the best decisions. Like, I had you would think after a traumatic event like that you would just be a total outsider and outcast. But no, like, people came up to me and, like, took my side and was just like, it is what it is, be who you are. And they thought he was just a total douchebag for doing that move, which he was. And it's funny today, like, he is, like, doing nothing with his life. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm just like some world beater in my career and stuff like that, but like I recently came up on his Facebook page and it's like, man, he's like fucking doing bad. Like
that sucks.
Like, yeah.
And he was your best friend at the time.
Yeah. And it's like just see that full circle is just like
Karma's a bitch.
Exactly. But yeah, and so after that, I just really like focused on like my music hard, and I just knew I just wanted to like get out of high school and just like as fast as I can, and I ended up being so good that I went to college on a band scholarship. Music scholarship.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And so where'd you go in Florida?
To Bethune-Cookman University. It's a historically black college university. And
how do you say it?
Bethune-Cookman University.
Bethune-Cookman?
Yeah. It was after, the college was named after Mary McLeod Bethune, where in Daytona Beach, she started a school with 4 little girls and a hope and a dream. And today it's a huge school right across the bridge from the beach, and they're doing a lot of things, and they have an awesome band program. Like when I was there, only for 2 years, we performed at the Super Bowl.
Wow.
There was the Steelers and the Cardinals that one year in Tampa Bay. We did Jacksonville Jaguar halftime shows, pre-games, like TV appearances, you name it. It's like it opened up so many doors and like experiences from my life. It's like when you see people, it's like, oh, I've never been on TV. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, I think I've been on TV about like 10 times just in the past 2 years with this band alone. So it was like an awesome experience that I got to experience just from like playing the instrument.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
You know what's even weirder to think about too is like, people say like, oh, I've never been on TV before, because the idea that your face and your signal could be broadcast to that many people at the same time is like mind-boggling. Like, I wonder how many people are looking at that. And like now you have to think like with the internet and what we have with YouTube and all that stuff, it's like, back in, I've heard some little kids, I've overheard little kids saying like, at my job one time they said this, they were like, you look like a YouTuber. They said that to this guy or whatever.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I was like, a YouTuber? I was like, anyone can open a YouTube account and be a quote unquote YouTuber.
Right.
It doesn't require any money, doesn't require any training. I'm technically a YouTuber. I have videos on YouTube that have a decent amount of views, like whatever, but nothing to write home about, nothing to crazy brag about, but like, it's weird how we used to, still to this day, I would think if, this guy's on TV, that's crazy. But like, even a lot of TV shows, we never actually see those real numbers. Some of those TV shows have viewerships of like less than 1 million people.
Right.
And then you have like YouTubers that get literally on a daily basis millions and millions and millions of views. Like it's kind of crazy to think about that. Like it's kind of a mind fuck. Like you don't even realize like what.
So you think like in your mind, you see that kid call you a YouTuber and you're like, okay, whatever. But like, what if like he religiously watched your channel like every day or every Friday whenever new post came out, and like I think the impact that you have on that kid, but in your mind like you don't even think that. Yeah. Isn't that like interesting how things work like that?
It's weird. And even right now being like a podcaster, like there's definitely people out there I know like they're in the woodwork somewhere. Like they're waiting for like a new episode. Like they because consistently I've been having a lot of downloads per episode, like and I don't know who they are. I don't know who these people are. I know who some of the people listening are, but like it's weird. I just see the number. Like I can't see the face behind it. Exactly. Same with a YouTube view. You don't see the faces behind it. And like it's creepy to me. Like some people would get, really freaked out about like speaking to like a big crowd, or even on my Snapchat. Like I had like a decent amount of people on my Snapchat at one point. But
decent? I would say like more than decent.
I had a lot of people on my Snapchat. I had a lot of people, but like at one time, Snapchat's kind of died off, to be honest, which is unfortunate. Hopefully they can resurge a little bit, because I love Snapchat, but they're...
Yes. That was like your first love.
It was my first love, man.
Since I've known you.
For real. For real. And like at one point I had like almost 1,000 views like on my stories. Dang. And like to think about speaking in front of a crowd of 1,000 people would be kind of nerve-wracking a little bit. But like the fact that it's just me on my phone and these 1,000 people are just on their phones. Right. Like I don't think about that number like that, but to think like seating like an 1,000 person venue, and then talking to those people every single day or whatever it might be, like that's kind of crazy. And same thing with this podcast, like seating like a few hundred or a few thousand person venue and having us sitting on stage just talking and them just like listening is kind of weird, but like that's kind of what's happening.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you, man, for doing this, by the way. Like,
thanks, man.
It's just a seeing from when I met you, and like to how you just like turned your brand and like things that you wanted to do and just didn't care about what other people thought about what you're doing at that time. To see you like doing this is like round of applause for you, sir.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, dude.
No, you're welcome.
I really appreciate that, because it's funny, because a lot of people I think have friends that they've known from high school and all that stuff, and then maybe they have some casual friends from work or college or whatever. But we were kind of interesting because we worked together for like maybe like a year and a half, something like that, and then we kind of like parted ways. But we still remain friends through like music festivals and through social media and all that kind of stuff, which has been really cool. Yeah. But just to kind of continue, so you went to
Bethune-Cookman University.
Bethune-Cookman University. Couldn't remember the name. And you said that was a historically African American school, right? So was the population of the school 100% African American, or
this is gonna like weird some people out, or I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably don't know this, but when you go to HBCU, most of the population is African American. You have some people that are like different races, and the whole majority of the baseball team is like Dominican or like Caucasian, or the like volleyball team is just like Caucasian or Dominican. It's just the weirdest thing. It's like we make a joke all the time. It's like, oh, we have a baseball team. We never see them. It's just like they don't like come on the campus to eat in the regular cafeterias, or they don't come to events and stuff like that. But yet you'll see them on TV like winning like the conference in baseball, and you're like, wait a minute.
You go to
exactly.
Ever.
Like it's typical school like sports. You got to put the most of money in sports because they give you the most money back besides tuition. Like your
but it's kind of interesting because like if you were to stereotype, you'd be like, oh well, black people are really good at sports, so like they probably have their whole team is all black or whatever.
The football team is majority African American, but
it's also funny about like what sports you choose growing up are the sports you're going to eventually be good at. Like I'm not good at NASCAR because I've never even tried.
Right.
Like, but I'm sure if I grew up and my parents were somewhat wealthy and my dad was a race car driver and like I would have tried it out and like liked it, and who knows, maybe I'm really good at NASCAR, but I never played that. Yeah. I grew up playing tennis because that's what my dad played. Not the manliest sport in the world.
Hey,
but it's fun. It's a cool sport. You can play it till you're old, like fun. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it's weird how, especially like it's a big influence I think on little boys. Like your dad, whatever your sport your dad kind of pushes you to play, or whatever he played growing up, that's the sport you kind of like gravitate towards because you want your dad to be proud of you and like all that stuff. So it's like it's a weird thing, man, because it's almost like cyclical. Yeah. It's like if you've got a history of these guys being really good at football, they're going to train up their kids to be good at football, and then it's just like a
except for me, cycle. I feel like I'm an outlier. Like my dad played college basketball all through his life, and I was like, I just was terrible. Like I just couldn't. And he actually took the time out to like teach me the correct form and everything like that. It's for whatever reason in my mind it just was not clicking. So like to this day, like I don't even play basketball. I suck.
There's nothing wrong with that though.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just talking like it's something bad, but hey, to each his own.
And like there's that same pressure does not exist for girls and women. Like the same pressure to play sports, there's just not that pressure at all. And that pressure instead lies on looking good and wearing the right clothes and dressing the right way, or like the physical, like, and staying skinny rather than like being physically fit or healthy. Like it's a totally different dynamic, and like that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother podcast, I feel like. But when you went off to college, like you did a lot of people from your high school go there? Like was it pretty much just you? Or?
Yeah, it was a good like 14 of us from the band alone to go to that college. Like the band director, he came and he just was like throwing monies. Like if it was like instead of a stripper club throwing ones, it was like throwing ones at our like instruments. like no, but
I gotta get those kids.
I gotta get those kids down in the band.
Luther.
I know. No, but it was fun. Like I'm not to toot our own horn, but we were really
no pun
good.
Intended.
Exactly. Like we even went on a trip to South Africa in high school.
Damn.
Like our senior year, we got invited to a showcase there to like play our instruments for children in need in South Africa, and it was a big deal. We were on the news, and like we were trying to raise money, and just to know that you're that good enough to go turn that back around and help other people, that was really cool. So like 14 of us went down to that college, and not all of us finished there. Like I didn't even finish there, so but it was just like a good experience of having close people to you, because if I don't know, a lot of people have moved away from home that age group. Like I have never seen anything like I did in like a freshman in college. First of all, I was 17. So I was like so young to be in college in the first place, and just like seeing people like drink and smoke and this and that. You're like, what is this? And like Florida people are a whole different culture. Like they had their own dances, like own sayings, and here you are, this kid from Georgia, and you're like, what? what is this dance move? What is this like, like the T-Pain dreads, and you're like, man, like you look rough. What are you doing in college? But you stereotype because you never seen it before. Mm-hmm. But it was like such a good thing to like open my eyes and see like how different people live. And it's like, I wouldn't take it for granted. Sometimes I think I should have just stayed in Georgia and like just did something around here, but I'm thankful for that experience, you know, that I got.
And I feel like some people would even, especially, just like I said, if you stereotype it, you'd from the outside think like, oh, well, if he goes down to Florida, it's like an all black school. It's black culture is like all the same, but you're saying like it was like all different for you, even though like a lot of people from the outside would be like, oh, well, it's all just like black culture and they're all into the same music and they all play basketball. Like it's just
totally
stupid to think that way, but it makes sense. Like people from a different town, especially when like we were just talking about, the internet was still kind of like not in its, it was around, but it wasn't to the point where I think right now we have this weird like viral culture where like now more things that become popular in one place are going to seemingly become popular in another place just because of like assimilation through videos and viral videos and dances and songs and all that. Yeah. Like, but they're back when you're talking about like, there might be a song that goes viral in Florida and a dance that goes viral in Florida that never even makes its way to Georgia.
So true. I was doing so many Florida dances. I had no clue what they were like when I was in Georgia. It has something like the bop where you just like get in a squat and you're just like squatting there and just like bouncing your shoulders up and down and just like bopping your head up and down. It's like everybody listens to T-Pain there and you're just like, this is like pretty awesome here. It's like, it was so different from anything I ever experienced like growing up in Georgia. Like you had the people from Miami that had to bring their own like different like swag on stuff and like that. I don't even know if people say that anymore. Yeah. But it was just it was pretty cool. And I met like the most amazing people who I can call my best friends, and they're my best friends to this day. And that's, Harold, Roderick, Richard, Jaron, who you know, and it's just Leonie. She's just an amazing woman. She's living in Dubai right now, but it's just I garnered those friendships from that time there, and it's just I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But then you came back.
I came
went to Georgia
back.
State.
Yeah, wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I didn't fail any classes, but I was like getting
partying
C's
too much,
and like the only A I had was in band. So, so I came back and like went to Georgia State, and that's when like just stuff really changed for me. Like, I met so many people who I thought I would never connect with there. Like, I made relationships with like foreign exchange students who I can go to London today and stay in Newcastle because I met somebody in college that was a foreign exchange student. It's like I'm a very personal person. I want to get to know you. I'm that type of person where tell me about your culture, this and that. Like, oh, you want to come back to America? Yeah, go ahead and stay with me. Even if I'm not living here, I'll get you a hotel, like hit you up. You know? And it was just like, wow, like this is what I wanted. I had that experience in Florida, but like this is a whole nother ball game here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. I have the same feeling. Like, I love meeting people from other places because you're like, I've heard it said a million times, your network is your net worth too. Like, I feel like the more globally connected you are, the more valuable that is. Like, I'm like confident that it, like, for whatever reason, if shit hit the fan in America, like I have friends overseas that would like help me out or whatever. Like stuff like that. Even just having that in the back of your mind, having that, kind of coolness factor. Like, there's people on the other side of the world that care about me and I care about them. Like,
this is so true.
Which is crazy dope. Like, most Americans, most people don't even have a passport. Like, they never really travel. They never get to meet people like that. And typically people that are like traveling or foreign exchange students like are really cool people because they are getting out of their comfort zone to come here, and getting to know them, getting to meet them is always valuable.
Always. I joke around with my friend in London, but I'm so serious. Like, if like North Korea ever wants to bomb us, they're hitting LA and like San Francisco first, where I am.
For sure.
So I'm like, I'm coming over there the first flight I can get if like the airports aren't shut down already. It's just like, so just be prepared, okay? Just letting you know. Like, I have a friend in Athens, Greece, and he's like, sure, Darius, come anytime you want to. You're more than welcome to come here. And it's like, that's a horrible accent, by the way, but like that's how he sounds. It's like he's so passionate in his voice, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like I wish more people talk like you. Like, it's amazing.
That's awesome, dude. So when obviously I feel like it's all kind of leading up to when you get diagnosed and stuff like that. When was that and how did that go down?
2012, I'm a senior in college at Georgia State. I'm majoring in exercise science, and to graduate from that degree, you have to do an internship in something related to like the exercise science field. I knew I wanted to go into therapy, occupational therapy or physical therapy at the time. So I did my clinical rotation or an internship under a physical therapist. And one day I had to help put this guy's shoulder in place, because accidentally, was moving a little bit too much out of the shoulder joint. And he's on the table, I'm holding his shoulder in place. And my clinical instructor, she goes, "Look at your hands." And I'm like, "What?" She was like, "Do you have like old man looking hands?" And I'm like, "What does that mean?" She was like, "Look at your muscles are like, you can see like the tendons really in your hands. Like you're not supposed to see that at that age. And like some of your muscles here are like, gone in your, anatomical snuff box as they call it." And I'm just like, "I never noticed that." She was like, "All right, well, let me just test your hand strength out for you." And on my left hand, I was at like 40% strength where
you should be,
where I should be, and like on my right I was like 65, which is like pretty, like anywhere from 60 to 80 is pretty good for a grown man. And on my left I was 40. It's just like, you may want to get that checked out. And it was just like, so when after that day it dawned on me, I was like, I've been at the gym and I've been struggling. Like, I can't do one pull-up. And I just thought, like, I'm out of shape, whatever. But I was like, I was what, 180? Solid, muscles and everything like that. But I didn't know why I couldn't do a pull-up. Coming to find out, it was because I didn't have any muscles in my hand, really. Any muscle strength. So I go home, tell my parents.
You couldn't like grip the bar, right?
I couldn't pull myself up. Like I could put my hands around it, but to actually pull myself up, I didn't know how much. Yeah, I didn't know how much you relied on your grip strength in your hands to do a pull up. And people look at people doing pull-ups and like, man, their back or their biceps and triceps must be really good. You have to have a lot of grip strength in your hands as well.
You do.
To do that. So
that's what normally like gives out on me. Like I go to the ninja course kind of stuff a lot.
Yes, I see you doing your thing, man.
Yeah, man, it's really fun. And like a lot of times it's like normally the first thing that fatigues is my hands.
Really?
Like rather than muscles, like I could probably do another pull-up if my muscles needed me to, but like my hands, I just can't like keep squeezing on. Like those give out like first. And a lot of rock climbers and ninja course people, they do a lot of hand training.
It's so much force that exerted on your fingers and like
and
your
the tips
wrist.
Sometimes
Exactly. Even like we call them your DIP, your PIP joints and stuff like that in your hands, and they're not used to taking that much force. So props up to anybody that like does those courses is badass at it. Like they must have like the best hand strength. Like they probably been working on it since they're like 13 years old.
Yeah.
No, but like no, really props up to them for that. So,
the way that you paused was perfect. That was good. Yeah, that was good.
That was my little one joke of the evening. But yeah, so it's like, no, you really have to give a good hand strength, and I didn't, and like I was maxing out on like 30 pounds on the dumbbell crunches and stuff like that, and I just didn't know. So I went home, talked to my mom. She was like, okay, well, let's do something about it, because she's in the health field as well. We go around and like see all these doctors. I'm getting like spinal taps, EKGs, this and that, like seeing everything. We even went to a doctor where he gave me surgery on my elbows, and I had these scars here on my elbows because he thought that I had impingement at the elbow joints. So like a couple months later, I'm still having these issues with my hands.
Was an impingement of the elbow joint, like a nerve was getting pinched or something?
Yes, he thought the nerve was getting pinched in the canal that was leading to my hand functioning in my...
Interesting.
Yeah, my hands.
But that wasn't the case.
It wasn't, because two months later, it was like nothing changed. Couldn't do pull-up, couldn't do anything like that. And that recovery was so painful. And it's just like, I feel like I went through that for nothing. And I had basically surgery for something I didn't have. So to this day, I'm wondering...
Which is super common, though. People don't even realize that. Like, people have surgeries all the time, and a lot of the time, like, it's either an unnecessary surgery or it's a misdiagnosis or a failed surgery or whatever.
Yeah. So It's just that mentally. I think that really mentally though messed me up though, because it's just like, what in the world is really going on? So we finally went to the best, neurologist in the state of Georgia, and his name is Dr. Glass. He works with Emory, and they run the Emory Neurology Clinic. And he came in, he looked at me, and he was like, "How old are you?" I was like, 23. He was like, "Why are you in my office?" I was like, "Well, this and this and this and this. They didn't find that, and we're here. Tell me what's going on." So he
give me some answers,
right, right. So he did all the tests, looked at the tests, and he goes out. He walks in with like 3 or 4 people, other doctors. Like he stopped them from seeing like their appointments. He was like, "Yeah, I've got to see this kid. Like, this is like, why is he in a neurology clinic at 23 years old,
Because neurology is dealing with nerves, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time nerve damage doesn't happen until much later.
MS, all this other type of diseases, and apparently ALS is like 50 years old, usually when you get diagnosed. So they go out. I'm waiting for like another hour. My mom's with me. He comes in, he's like, "All right, I hate to tell you this, but, your diagnosis is ALS." I had no clue what it was. I haven't even heard about Stephen Hawking at the time.
Really?
Before that. So Mom burst out into tears, and I'm just looking like, what?
You're like, I've never even heard of this disease. It's not like I had cancer or something. What the
exactly. Heck? Like what? Like what's like? Okay, just my arms, the muscle. Like what is what is the big deal? Okay, good.
Okay, cool. Let's fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Give me some medicine. Whatever, and we'll be fine. And he goes, "No, it's no cure for it. And, the life expectancy is 2 to 5 years." And it just, I replay that scene in my mind every day, from going to just not thinking it's so serious to wait, what did you just say? Yeah,
you're like, I can't do a pull-up, and now you're telling me that I'm going to die in 5 years, potentially.
What? Who? Nobody's prepared for that. Especially if you think, if you have cancer, or from what I've experienced from people from cancer, it's like you can kind of steadily see a decline of them getting sick and weaker like that. But, anybody that looks at me wouldn't even know that I have this disease. So for me, in my mind, I'm not thinking that either. I'm thinking everything's just fine. So I go, "So what are you trying to tell me?" And he's just like, "Yeah, you have ALS." And so, we have some medicine to kind of help with, fasciculations. And those are just like the muscle twitches. Like every now and then my eye would just start twitching, or a muscle in my body would just start twitching uncontrollably, and I can't stop it. It's like, we have some medicine to help with that, but there's no cure. Wow. So that was pretty devastating.
And so for people that are listening, ALS, if you can just give a good or an explanation of what it is for people, even if they're familiar with obviously the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge and all that stuff and Stephen Hawking, but what exactly
so
does
ALS
it do?
is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and it is a disease that, in layman's terms, it doesn't send the message from your brain down to your spinal cord to the muscle to work. So you still have that muscle, but inside your body, it's like a rubber band. It's flaccid. It doesn't move. For whatever reason, your brain is trying to tell it to move, but the muscle's like, "No, ma'am." I'm chilling. It's I just got stoned, and I'm just not moving for the rest of my life.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, no, ma'am.
So it's there's a highway from your brain to the muscle, and there's some kind of obstruction on the highway. Traffic cannot get through, so the muscle's just sitting there
exactly.
I'm waiting for a signal. Yep. I'm not going to do anything until I get this signal, but no signal's coming.
That's the part that scientists can't figure out why and how to reverse it. Yeah. It's like you can send an electrical impulse directly to the muscle, and it'll probably move, but the body itself just will not do it. So what happens is you get your muscles get really atrophied
because they're not being used.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And how people die in the long run of the disease is that the muscles that help you breathe, they stop working. So
because your heart runs automatically, all that kind of stuff, but your lungs, you actually have to your brain has to tell your lungs to breathe in, breathe out.
Yes, exactly. So you end up dying because of breathing complications. So.
Is it a painful death, I'm assuming? Because you're kind of like suffocating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, part of me, even though I've been diagnosed with this, I haven't even tried to figure that part out because that's one thing I just cannot kind of tackle. I can tackle the issue and accept that I have stuff like that, but I don't want to research, you know, what do they feel really, stuff like that. I'm not there yet personally in my, you know, acceptance of this disease. But
I feel you.
This, it's just they have trach tubes eventually, and you know you can't swallow, you can't talk because you use muscles in your jaw and your mouth to talk, so you have to have a feeding tube because you can't chew, so can't breathe on your own, can't chew on your own, and eventually it's not enough signals in your muscles to even have the trach work for you. Huh. So that's how people die. So being told that at 23, and you're just like, man, I just finished college. I'm about to like tackle the world. Boom, bombshell. You know. However, I could have taken it so much worse.
Of course.
You know, I don't know. How can I say this without getting emotional? It's just like I took it as, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to live my best life. I'm going to travel, do things that I like, and I'm going to help, you know, bring awareness to this disease. Like I shared my A-list Ice Bucket Challenge video, and so many people, you know, replied to it and did it in my honor and helped raise awareness and funds for that disease. It was just amazing. I had no clue that, you know, I had so much people that cared for me like that. And it's a shame that, you know, something like this had to do that. You know, for me to realize that I had people that care for me and, you know, genuinely care for me, but it's been amazing. I had a lot of support so far.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So, like, when you found it out, did you, like, you know, obviously it's not a fun thing to go run and tell your friends, like, guys, guess what?
It was one of the...
It's a depressing thing. Like, it's...
Yeah. It was, like I told you, my friends from 10 years from college, like, we were so tight-knit. We've been through a lot of stuff together that I cannot even talk about on this podcast. Sorry, viewers.
We don't want to get arrested.
Sorry, listeners. Yeah, I can't do that.
In case there's any police officers
that
listening.
Was a very emotional phone call. It was just like, we all got on a group conference chat, and it was just like, hey, guys, I need to tell you all something. And it took everybody by surprise, and... It's just, some tears were shed, and it was very just a somber moment. However, they were very supportive, and like they've been to like all my ALS walks for me. They've donated. They've been supportive of, like, if I've been down and need somebody to talk to cry to, whatever like that. They've been there, and you know it's really cliche to say that, oh, the Golden Girls thing, thank you for being a friend. Like, no, I really like what to sing that to them. That's how good of a friend they are. And my parents, they've been so supportive, and like, you know, and my sister, and it's just, I couldn't have asked for a better support group. Like sometimes I don't even feel like it's really affecting me that much because I have so many positive people in my life that try to keep my mind off of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it also crazy how like a diagnosis, all it is a doctor or a professional telling you have this thing. Mm-hmm. And I have this weird thing about diagnosis. Like, for example, obviously ALS is like a real thing. You were noticing significant decrease of, you know, grip strength or whatever it might be in your hands. But like, for example, when a doctor diagnoses your child with like ADD, it's like all of a sudden he's got a problem, whereas before you just thought he was a little bit hyper or whatever. Right. And it's very, it's definitely a mind, you know, game sort of when you get that like professional diagnosis. Exactly. Because like you said, it's almost like nothing had changed, but now all of a sudden you have this knowledge that you're almost kind of like, well, damn, now that I know this, shoot. You know, you're like, you know, you always hear like live each moment like it's your last, all that kind of stuff. But it's like we're all gonna eventually die. But it's like so far in the future that you think that you're just kind of like I'll kind of like deal with my own mortality later. Right now I'm just trying to like you know get my stuff together.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was 23 years old. He told me 2 to 5 year lifespan
from a diagnosis, right? That's like that's what's like typical.
Yeah. But here it is, 2017, December 4th.
Just turned 28.
Just turned 28.
5 years later.
And I'm talking to you. My speech isn't affected. I can breathe very well. You know, I still have the muscle atrophy in my hands and a little bit, you know, my forearms and stuff like that and my biceps. But I can still do anything I want to, you know? And it's just like, I do have to thank that diagnosis in a way, because I've done so many things that I do not even think my former self of pre-diagnosis would have ever done if I didn't feel like I was racing against time.
Wow.
And now I don't really feel like I'm racing against time. I feel like that's just who I am. You know, this is what I want to do, and it was just suppressed in me that I just never acted on it. Like the first couple of years, I was, you know, skydiving, like on Mexico, this or that, just because I just didn't know. Now I don't even look at it as I'm doing it because I don't have time where I think I'm going to die soon. I do that because I generally like doing that stuff, you know. So it's always something good that can be turned into out of a negative situation, you know.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Isn't there a movie that's like that where like someone, I can't remember what movie it is, but I want to say it's like a Queen Latifah movie or something like that, where she gets like a diagnosis and she's gonna die.
Oh gosh.
It's like the last year or something like that. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I remember I had a I can't even remember what the movie's called, but I had the lady who did the stunt double work for that movie for Queen Latifah. She's like Queen Latifah's official stunt double.
Yeah.
I think it was episode 40 if you want to go listen to it. But anyways, she was talking about that movie, and now that you bring that up, because I think at the end of the movie she finds out that it was a misdiagnosis, but she didn't regret being diagnosed because she had such an incredible year, because she knocked all these things off her bucket list and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And like, you know, people, I think this is such a fascinating subject because, like I said, everyone is going to have to eventually face their own mortality.
Right.
Eventually, my muscles are going to atrophy because I'm going to get old. Or eventually, I'm not going to be able to walk or whatever because I'm going to get old. I'm going to lose my hair. I'm going to get old, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But it's almost like, you know, when you get diagnosed with ALS, it's like kind of just like an acceleration of that.
Right.
Like you got to live the rest of your life, and you're kind of thinking, "Damn, I'm like 23. I'm just getting my life started. What the heck?"
Yeah. So
but you've got to take care of the things that really matter. That's really dope that you said. Like,
man.
I realized that's who I really was because these things that were suppressed that I actually really, really wanted to do, I felt like, oh, I'll do them eventually. But now you're like, I got to do them now.
Yep. So going off of what you just said, I got that diagnosis. And I could have easily folded up and been depressed and stayed at home. Oh, I got my ass up, went down to that college, applied for occupational therapy school, got in, finished in 2 years, started working, and now I'm actually helping people that have diagnoses like myself. I haven't run into a case where I've had to help somebody with ALS, but eventually I know I will.
Yeah.
And I've worked with people with MS, strokes, you know, COPD, all that. And what I can advise to anybody that's listening to this, especially like people from like 21 to like 35, just like that, there's going to be a point, because I see it every day, there's going to be a point in time where you're going to have to take care of your parents or spend resources, money, or time on your parents. And I don't want you out there, those of you who are listening to this right now, thinking that you have time to go on that trip that you want to do, or go on that vacation, or like get that car that you always wanted to. Don't think you have time, because there's going to come to a point in your personal life where you may have a disease, or you're going to have to take care of your parents. And it's just, I've seen how stressful it is, and people's lives can turn upside down in an instant. So for anybody listening to this, do it. Do what you want to do. Don't think you have time, and I promise you won't regret it. You may struggle. You may not have the money for it right now. I'm not saying go out and get like a whole bunch of Delta credit cards and like go to Tahiti, but you have to be smart about it, right? But just like go ahead and do what you want to do in this life, because to me, there's no physical proof that we come back as our former selves to redo this thing again. So go ahead and do it right now.
Yeah, you got a one-way ticket.
Yep.
Got to live the life, man. Dude,
This is true.
I love that. So let's talk about what you've done. So from that moment when you got diagnosed and you got your ass up and you started, you know, do you feel like that was like the motivating factor? Like before you're kind of just coasting and then it just got your ass in gear?
It was like,
that's cool, man.
I love international travel. So one of the first things I wanted to do was, I know I knew that I wanted to go to Europe one day, but I just didn't want to go to one country and London and come back. I said, if I do this thing,
you gotta do a tour.
I'm going to do a tour of Europe. So, but before that, I get to that trip, I've been to like, countless cities in Mexico,
you even you said you went to South Africa with your college, right?
Yeah, well, in high school. But it's just like after being diagnosed, like, I had a partner at the time, I guess, whatever. But we would do trips and stuff like that, and it was the big antithesis of it all, right? It was just me finally gaining enough money to go to Europe, and I spent 7 weeks, and I just started in London, Paris, Amsterdam, which is my favorite city, by the way. I think it's yours,
my
right?
favorite city.
Exactly. I think trying to go next year for Tomorrowland.
We're gonna do it. We gotta do it.
January, whenever those tickets go on sale, I'm gonna be right in front of that computer.
Of course.
I don't care if I had to
I think I'm gonna try to do both weekends this year, just cause.
That's massive.
I might as well, dude.
That's
Bucket
massive. List. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead. I say you have my full support of that. And if I can do it with you, I will do it with you. If I can get the time off of work. Mm-hmm. But it was just to see different how people lived, and just like in Germany and Switzerland, Lucerne, they're going to the Swiss Alps and the French Riviera, the Italian Riviera, Venice, Provence and Florence, and it was just amazing. I cried when I went up the Swiss Alps. It was like, this is what I wanted to do. Like, this is amazing, and I stayed in hostels, as I think everybody should. If you're listening to this, if you're thinking about going to Europe, bump hotels, because you meet the most amazing people in hostels, and it's just an experience I think everybody should experience.
Especially as a young person. If you're like 60 years old, it's kind of creepy. Like, get yourself a hotel.
Just walking around with your little robe on. How you doing? Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, but no.
Be a little creepy.
Yeah, a little creepy, but.
A lot of hostels, I think, even have an age limit.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
I think
some of them are even called like youth hostels. Like they call them youth hostels because they're like,
some of ours like,
we don't want some creepy old men.
Like that. Yeah, yeah, because I mean you're in like close quarters with a lot of people. Like even like the females, it's like just one key fob away from like getting into their room. Which like in Amsterdam, like we had like some homeless guy, like he was just chilling in the girls' side of the hostel, and like it was weird. Like I had to get the police and like kick him out and everything. It was just like weird. Yeah, but. Yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and I'm planning on I have a friend that's getting married in India, so I'm going to go see his wedding next year. I'm going to try to redo China. Okay, let me say this. For all of you out there listening to this right now, please check if the country that you want to go to requires a visa. Please don't have that same mistake that I did. I flew from Los Angeles in the first week of October to Seattle. I was headed to Beijing for a week. I get up to the counter. She gives me my ticket. I go get on the plane. She flips through my passport. She's like, where's your visa? And I'm like, what? She's like, you need a visa to go to China. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know about that. So she was like, let me call the plane to hurry up and get your luggage off of it. So that was the most like crushing feeling. When you're like young and you think you're in love, but you get your heart broken and you get that feeling in your chest of just like defeat, and it hurts. It physically hurts. That's how I felt.
Dang.
I know, but
And that ticket wasn't cheap.
I only got $200 back from that ticket.
Damn.
Out of a $1,000 plus ticket, because I bought it in February.
Damn.
And I was supposed to, and I had it all perfectly set up. I was supposed to land back from Europe and spend 1 day in LA and then go straight to China. Like,
it's a beautiful metaphor though, right?
Yes.
It's like you have all these plans and
boom, there you
train
go.
wreck.
Yep, exactly. But I made the best of it. I stayed in Seattle for a whole week, and then I went up to Vancouver because we were so close up there to Vancouver, Canada, and experienced that. So
you didn't have to have a visa to get to Canada.
No, you did have to have your passport. So anybody that wants to go to Canada, please don't think like, oh, it's so close to the United States that I don't need a passport.
No. You need a passport.
You do.
Especially in Trump's America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But she was like, you can do like a temporary visa, but it's just like $300, and then you can go for like 2 days, and then you have to get out the country, but then you can't fly straight from China. You have to go to a different country and then fly to China. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. But yeah, and I went to Budapest this year to see my best friend get married.
The pictures from that were insane. That was the coolest thing. Okay, so how did you guys do the pictures? Like, it seemed like y'all were in so many different locations with different outfits and all kinds of stuff.
So she is very, how can I say this? Very well put together. You know, like she's a model in Dubai. So she had...
Okay, so this is your friend that lives in Dubai.
Yes,
okay, cool.
Exactly. And their favorite city is Budapest. No, favorite country is in Budapest. So we went there and she had the photographer to follow us all around. And she had things set up where like we were at this Greek restaurant, then we would go here for the reception, and then we did a tour of this, all on the wedding day. But before that, she tasked me to put together the joint bachelorette and bachelor party. They call it a hen and stag party. So I'm in America. Not only am I in America, I'm in California. So like the time difference from California to Budapest is so great. Now I'm calling like people, hey, I need like this venue to get
What
this
is it,
up.
like 12 hours? 11 hours?
Yes. So it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but we had the most amazing time. We did like a whole bunch of bar hopping and God, it looked
incredible.
If you ever go to Budapest, you want to go out and have a good time, you have to go to Instant. And it's like 24 different rooms, just like different music, and like it's just amazing.
My brother went to Budapest recently.
Did he like it?
Yeah, he loved it.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah. My brother had a crazy trip. He kind of did a similar thing where he went around to a bunch of different countries. But yours was how long? 7 weeks?
Yeah.
And how many countries?
10, but like 14 different cities.
Dude, that's incredible. That's incredible. So you get to spend a decent amount of time in each one, like a couple days at least.
Yeah. And I wouldn't do it I wouldn't change anything about that trip. I'm actually planning a Europe trip part 2 now. I want to go to Czech Republic, Prague, Vienna, I want to hit up Holland and Poland and
Holland is the
Ireland
best.
And Dublin and all that. So anybody that's listening, hey, you want to go with me? Let's do this,
For real. Dude, you're inspiring me, man. Because I'm the same way. Like, I love traveling. And, like, I had a similar kind of thing where, like, one of my friends, like I know, for example, your friend went and moved to Dubai. She got invited for work, right?
Yeah,
and that's how she got to go out there.
Yeah, she was a manager at Hollister, and they opened up an international store in Dubai. And she was like, "Why not?" She was living in New York. She had one of the biggest stores off of Broad Street. She was a good manager. She went out there.
Is she still doing that out there? And
yep.
Wow, that's really
cool.
cool.
Her whole life has changed. She met a wonderful guy. I call him my brother-in-law because I feel like we're like brothers and sisters. And he was also a model out there, but he does like fitness, like his own personal training, and like they are wonderful. And it makes me want to say like, maybe I need like a little international bay, I can see myself living in like different countries.
For real though, me too, man. I think about that a decent bit. I'm always like, that would be really cool to marry somebody or be in a relationship with somebody in a different country. Not for the long distance part of it, but like
that sucks.
If we were like living together, all that kind of stuff, like that would be so interesting, so fascinating. Because I've never even like thought about like making my home in a different country, because like United States, like even from other countries, like when you talk with people from other countries, they a lot of times look at the United States as kind of like running the show, which is weird.
Still to this day,
it's weird.
Yeah,
because we just like live there, but to them it's like, man, y'all are like running the show, and it's like almost a lot of foreigners' dreams to like aspirationally like go to America, live in America, go live in New York or LA or do that whole thing. And it's like, for us, it's just kind of like,
that's whatever.
I live in America.
Yeah.
But just for them, it's just the same for over there. And I liken it to like when you're a little child. Like when you're a little kid, like every experience is a new experience because you it's the first time you've experienced that experience. You've never been around that long. Right. But once you get old, it's like everything becomes mundane. Everything becomes predictable. Everything is boring. Yeah. And when you go to a new country, when you get to travel, you get to be a little kid again because you get to experience new things in a new light. Like especially in Europe, like I haven't traveled outside of I went to Morocco, which is interesting. So technically I've been to Africa.
Beautiful, yes.
And the culture is just like totally different. But I haven't been to any Middle Eastern countries or Asian countries or anything like that. But just from my experience in Europe, especially, like when you go there, life is very, very similar. Like especially Americans, we came from European settlers, so it's typically our lives are going to kind of mirror each other. But the age of technology and all these things have kind of like grown us a little bit slightly apart, but still parallel. So like you go to plug in something into the wall. Oh, it's like a different plug. You got to have an adapter and like all this different thing. Oh, you're going to turn on the light switch. All the light switches in America look like that.
Yeah.
Like they're all this little stick and you like lift it up. In Europe, like sometimes it's a little button or sometimes it's like another weird little switch or whatever. And like the toilets are like slightly different. It's still a toilet, but like you flush it with like a button on the wall or like something weird. And so like all these little experiences like, oh, that's kind of cute, or like, oh, that's weird.
It's
or,
like in Italy, it's common to have a bidet. In the United States, it's like a luxury to have a bidet, you know?
Yeah.
Bidet. And it's like, wow, like just to see those different, like, just it's just really cool, culturally differently.
Yeah, and that's why I really want to go to like Japan. Like I really want to go to like Hong Kong.
If you want to go, we're going for the 2020 Olympics.
Ooh.
So if you can wait that long.
Oh, dude, yes.
Yeah. I'm super
down.
Like we're already like looking at like where to stay and like all that.
That would be sweet. That would be really cool. I'm always salty that like when the Olympics were in Atlanta, I don't really remember it. Yeah. Do you remember it?
I do, only because my dad was down there the day they bombed Centennial Olympic Park.
Wow.
And we were watching on TV. We were like hoping like he was okay. You know, this is before like you can just try to call somebody on the cell phone and like see where they are. Like we had to actually wait to see if he was coming home that night. But other than that, I remember watching it on TV and like, you know, seeing all the games. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah, I definitely am interested in doing something like that. That sounds really cool. Yeah. So like for people that are listening and they've never traveled or whatever, they've never gone outside the United States, they've never gotten out of their comfort zone as far as that kind of stuff. Maybe they don't even have a passport.
Yeah.
Like what would your advice be, or what would your like motivation be for them to go get outside and like do something?
So I'll start this off that answer with this quote: "People don't plan to fail; they fail to plan." You need to know first off what's your budget. You know, first off, like what are you willing to spend, and then have an idea of where you want to go, and use your resources. You know, ask around. You know, fundraising, whatever you need to do to get what you need to get done, do it. Because at the end of the day, if you really want something, you need to go out and do it. Nobody knows when you put that picture on Facebook or Instagram of you at the Eiffel Tower, really how you got there. They just know Darius is there. Andrew is in Amsterdam. You know what I'm saying? They don't know.
And they also think like you're doing so what, like, oh my gosh, Darius must be making all this money, all this stuff. Like, man, he's killing, he's out in...
No.
But like, if you set that budget, you can find a way to get there.
I sacrificed so much all of last year. That was my Christmas gift to myself in the year 2016. On Christmas Day, that's when I was like, I'm going to do this. So all this year, I lived off of groceries like $50 a week. That was my limit. Gas was $20 a week. I didn't go over that.
Wow.
I walked to work, and every day it was like almost an hour just so I can save gas and also get exercise.
Of course.
But, you know, I cut down like fast foods. I didn't go to bars and stuff like that, and I saved money that way.
Wow.
So like that's what people don't
see.
Bars
and going out for food can save you a ton.
Exactly. And I pay for it all my own, you know.
That's amazing.
It's because of the things that I want to do.
Just for transparency, I understand if you don't want to share it, but if like for your budget for that 7-week trip that you went on, like what are we? I mean, if you don't want to share it,
that's easily for the amount, it was $8,000 to $10,000.
$8,000 to $10,000.
Yeah,
that still seems like people. You know, people are like, wow, $8,000 to $10,000, but for a 7-week trip, think about how long that is.
Yeah,
that's almost 2 months. That's 1/6 of the year almost.
Yeah.
And then also think about like. You went and did a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. Like, so I didn't go just over there to like.
And you weren't doing the cheap route. Like there's a lot cheaper options you could do. But like, but when people think like this crazy trip, they're thinking like, I'm gonna go to Europe for a week and it's probably gonna cost me like $8,000. It's like going to Europe for a week is not gonna cost you $8,000. The airfare, if you can find cheap airfare, you can do it for very, very affordable. I would say you could do it for like $1,000, $2,000,
and that should be
as long as you get that airfare down.
Most expensive thing in your trip. But other than that, hostels, especially if you're young people like us, I use these apps called Get Your Guide or Viator or. You know, I don't use Groupon anymore, but like they have deals and stuff to do. Like I found this awesome deal in Madrid it was in Barcelona where you can do a tour a boat ride on the water and a helicopter ride over the city for $99.
Jeez.
And a helicopter ride in Atlanta over the city is like $200 for only 30 minutes. You know, so I will say that I'm good at finding things to do and finding things to do on deals. You know, so if you're ever
what are those apps for people that are listening?
Get Your Guide.
Get Your Guide.
Viator.
How do you spell that?
Viator.com.
Gotcha.
And it's has so many different deals. Like even when I went to Beijing, they had like this package. Well, when I was going to Beijing, they had this package where you could do like the Great Wall of China, the tombs and the Forbidden Temple, and all this for like $100. And like you see different companies selling one thing for like $100. You know, it's like, and they're legit. I don't do anything that doesn't have at least a minimum of like 10 reviews.
Yeah,
and like,
TripAdvisor probably, right?
Yeah.
TripAdvisor is pretty helpful.
And
Any
on
other
those
apps?
And on those websites that I told you about, they can give you reviews too. So it's all about how you research and, you know, to do what you want to do.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I've told you this exactly, but I really want because now that I've like taken it upon myself to do this podcast, I kind of feel like an obligation, like a fire under me. Like that if I paused it or I stopped it for a while, it would not necessarily like be the end of it, but like, you know, I feel this obligation to like keep it going.
Yep.
So like if now I've got to think about that if I'm going to be traveling. Like for example, when I went to Tomorrowland and went to I only went for like 10 days this past year to Europe, which is a fairly short trip in you know, just to put it out there. But for that trip, I actually planned like to release some podcasts like while I was out there. That was really good. I had some in the tank like ahead of time. But if I'm planning on doing a lot more traveling, I've got to like plan that out. So what my goal is for this coming year would be to, for example, let's say Darius, you're out in California. So I say, like, and even when I remember when I first started the podcast, I reached out to you. I said, Darius, I want you to be on my podcast. I got a project coming up. I want you to be a part of it.
Like, okay. Done.
Yeah. And so for example, if I said, okay, Darius, I want you to be on my podcast. If I fly out to you, could I crash on your couch for a few days? Yeah. You're like, okay, sure.
I was like, So I was like, what did I tell you? I think I told you, I was like, what city do you want to meet in California? And I'll be down.
There we go.
No problem, you know? So
exactly. But so anyways, like, so for this plan, so I called Darius, I say, yo, can I crash on your couch for a few days? Okay, this is my evolution of this plan. Okay, so out in California, you probably met some cool people. Yeah. Is there anybody that comes to mind that you would think would be an interesting person to have on my podcast, or like a notable person or whatever? Yeah. You probably have like a couple people or whatever. So then when I go out there, I can basically, like I said, this is my goal. I can go out to somewhere and connect with whoever my connection is, like my person, and then branch out and like have some podcasts already scheduled. Yeah. So while I'm out there, I can get a few more under my belt. I can enjoy myself for a few days, hang out, get to hang out with my friends, all that. Hopefully by that time my podcast will be making money. Yeah. So then I can even potentially throw some money towards the person who's letting me stay there or whatever, and all that, and then go on to the next place or whatever.
That's amazing, man.
And that just like that, for whatever reason, just keeps evolving in my brain. But like that idea is just like sticking. And I kind of want to put it out there on the podcast because like when I make that happen, it's going to be able to be cool to look back on episode 62 or whatever when we're on episode like 200 and be like, dude, remember back on episode 62 when you said you were going to do this and now you're doing it. Like,
you're planting the seed, as I like to say.
Exactly.
And it's going to blossom into the biggest Andrew tree there is, you know. But no, this is awesome, and I can't wait to see where this takes off. You know?
Me too, man.
To me, it's already taken off. But to hear your goals of what you have planned for this, amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
And like, I think once I start combining the travel aspect of it, because that's one of my biggest passions, as well as yours, of course. I think like, number one, my like Instagram right now is where most of my traffic comes from. And I think a lot of Instagram, you know, stuff is about like aspirational content or like relatable content where it's like, yo, I'm traveling the world, you can too, that kind of thing. Like that's the kind of like message that I want to like put out there. So if I'm like actually living that out and doing it, I just think it's just going to like further what I'm trying to like project. Because I think with the message that I'm trying to put out there is like, screw whatever you think you can't do, because you can probably do it.
Right.
Like, think outside the box, do something different than other people are doing, and crush your goals. Like, if you have a goal, then freaking go for it.
Go
like,
for it.
Why not?
People run into problems when they think they have time. You know, and just sit on their ideas. And like, I have some things that I'm going to be doing next year where I didn't think that I would want to do it, but just simply because of like the health stuff like that. But screw it. You know what? Do what you want to do. Like, love who you want to love. Whatever, you know. At the end of the day, I always say, don't go to bed thinking about just shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and what ifs. When somebody that's very successful is just soundly asleep in their bed and going to get up the next day doing what they did to make it.
Yeah, that's very true, man.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. I wanted to go back for a second because, you know, we were talking about ALS and all this kind of stuff. Has, number one, where do you stand with it right now? Like, have you noticed any worsening of your condition, or is it kind of like stabilized at all? Or
So
like,
for me, it's very stable, which I am very thankful for.
Of course.
You know, I did my checkup last year at the ALS clinic, and he's like, I don't even know if like you had this disease, dude. That's how good you're doing. Like, he was doing all his strengthening tests. He's just like, I'm going to do some additional research, but you know,
how can they confirm? Because is it a disorder? Is it a disease? Like, because sometimes it's like, if it's a bacterial thing and you have that, it's like, okay, you have it. But like, if it's just like this degenerative thing, like, how can they?
It's just very prominent with the atrophy of the muscles, you know. But it's just so uncommon. I think when I was diagnosed, I was probably like the second youngest person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Second youngest ever to be diagnosed with ALS.
Well, in Georgia.
Wow.
But and across the United States and the world is very, very uncommon. Like, this is like you're 50 to 65. Okay, I'm getting older. You know, yes, I have some muscle loss, but no, you're actually like deteriorating way much faster than a normal elderly person should type of disease.
Or is that typically associated with people that have like sedentary lifestyle, like where their muscles would be kind of atrophying normally, or is it like
it just
unpredictable?
You know. And another thing about that is just like, if you're, and this is kind of going off subject, and I apologize, we'll get back on. No. But if you're doing something out there that you know is detrimental to your health, change it. Because there's people out there like me and other people with like ALS and other diseases that we didn't ask for, like cancer, that are like have no cures, and some with cures but don't work. You know, stop it and do what you want in life. And it's just like, I want to be able to believe that in my head, I had this little thought of, well, maybe I will live a long time because I got it younger. Or maybe, you know, I was born in the right era where there's going to be a cure for it eventually. Yeah. But all I can go on is what he tells me. Because he's been to school for this and that, you know. Because
there's people like Stephen Hawking that have it, and he's even gotten it to like a pretty bad degree, but it's like somehow
still
stabilized
and stuff
or something.
Like that,
yeah,
you know?
and he's had it for a long time or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Do all cases of ALS, I mean, they say that obviously like typically after 3 to 5 years you have that much to live, but I mean, are there other like crazy cases like Stephen Hawking's, or is he kind of like an outlier?
I know some people that are, you know, they have assistive devices, wheelchairs, and, you know, computer screens, or some of them are just have wheelchairs and that's it. You know, they're breathing and vocal, and that's like 10 years. Wow. You know, so it can either just depends on, you know, your body.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why I don't feel like this is the end all be all for me.
Good.
You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I hate to see like that, man. Yeah. Like, you know, and that's the thing. It's like most of the time people don't want to share that stuff because you know, it's kind of depressing. Like, it's like, man, I don't want to have to think about that. You know, like that sucks. Yeah. You know? But you know, you have to face reality sometimes and make hard decisions and come to grips with what's going on. The other question I want to ask is, since you have been diagnosed, are there any, like obviously the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge thing happened, which if people are living under a rock, it was a movement on social media where people would dump ice water on their head. I think the reason why was because they were saying like that in that instance when it's so cold, you're kind of like paralyzed. Like they were saying that it like symbolized like the the effects of having ALS, but basically it was to raise awareness and raise money, right?
A guy called Pete Frates, he's in Boston. He actually went to school with Matt Ryan at Boston College. And he started the challenge, for these who don't know, in his hometown. And they pour, the ice bucket over their heads to raise funds and stuff like that. It's just like something for them to like raise more awareness and get their friends and families. And it just absolutely took off.
Went viral.
It's just viral, and what you're supposed to do is dump it over here and then donate. But it turned to just like, okay, I'm just going to dump ice water over myself, and like nobody really knew what it was. So,
but I think in even though a lot of people didn't donate, it still raised so much awareness that people that would have not donated ended up donating, and I'm sure were plenty of people that ended up donating way more than their fair share, which made up for a lot of the people that didn't donate.
I've had people tell me that they had no idea what it was until that came out.
I wasn't super familiar with it. I honestly wasn't even really that familiar with it even after the Ice Bucket Challenge thing. To be honest, like when you told me that you were diagnosed with it, that's when I actually, like, when you told me that you had it, I kind of had the same reaction where I was like, I knew that it was bad, and I like knew, but I wasn't like, I kind of even had to do a little bit of research because I'm like, geez, like my friend Darius has this. I kind of was so far removed, like, okay, yes, we're raising awareness for ALS, like dump a bucket of ice water on your head, but at the same time, like, I didn't feel connected to it in a way, because that's how it is. Like, even with, like, for example, we've got all these like drone bombings that happen overseas, like in the Middle East and stuff. It's like, well, if we can kill one terrorist, like 60 civilians, like it is worth it.
Right.
But it's like, we don't know those stories of those 60 civilians. That 60 civilians, that could be your mom, that could be your dad, that could be your little sister, that could be your brother. And like, if those people that were piloting the drones had to go and face-to-face combat and knife them or like punch them in the face or something, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it. They couldn't punch little kids in the face.
Exactly.
That's how but since it's like you're so disconnected, it's like you dump this ice bucket on your head. Yeah, maybe I'll donate $10 or whatever, but I don't feel like connected to this disease.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like I have a aunt that's in Seoul, Korea. And like, if we ever go to war, there's no way you can take out North Korea without affecting the people or killing some people in South Korea, because that's how close it is. It's one body of land. And so for some people, especially people on the East Coast, they're like, oh, okay, whatever. They're just talking Rocket Man, this and that. But for me, it's like my aunt and uncle could possibly be killed. So when you don't connect with it, you don't really pay attention to how it affects people and stuff like that. So I'm kind of glad that you said, that you really did your research and just like, let me know really what's going on. Let me just not say, okay, oh, that's sad. And, okay, we'll hope you get
too
better.
Bad for Darius.
Yeah. It's just like,
And another thing that's weird about like when you have like a connection, like I think about this with my podcast, for example, and I'm going to take it a different way, is like when I find a new podcast or I find a new thing, let's say I find a new YouTube channel and I really like that video, but there's only 2 videos on the channel, I'm probably not going to subscribe because I'm like, I don't know what kind of longevity this has, or like I don't know if I want to get like that just emotionally wrapped up in this person's life if they're not going to show me anymore, or like if I see a podcast and I really like it, but there's only 2 episodes out, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to keep like listening to this because like I don't know how wrapped up in this guy I want to get into. And that's why, like, for me, when I started, I just went out the gate pounding content because I was like, I want to like establish myself as like, this is serious. I'm gonna do this. I don't want people to just think like, oh, there's that goofy podcast thing Andrew tried like a year ago and got 5 episodes out and that was it. Like, I want this to be like an ongoing thing. And I made it very clear from the beginning, like, this is something that I'm going to be doing. And so, like, for example, like I said, I'm going to take it flip the coin, flip it a whole other way. But for people, like, if they see something, like if they meet you and they're like, oh, Darius, he only has like 5 years to live. Like, I don't know if I want to even get like that wrapped up in his life and like be his friend because like he might be gone in 5 years. That's going to be devastating. Like, like that's kind of messed up to think that way.
It is. I think that way all the time, especially dating now.
That's single. What I was going to say. Like if someone wants to date or like get married or whatever, like, I mean, because obviously there's dating just for fun and there's, all that. But at the end of the day, dating is like you're testing out like what it would be like if you wanted to spend more time with them, wanted to spend the rest of your life with them. And so, I mean, like you said, you have to think about it all the time. What is that like?
Like, can you imagine, like, I'm 28, right? Let's just say I meet somebody 25 years old. Are you really if things go south quickly, are you ready to transition to that caregiver role? Or if we have children together, are you okay with possibly being a single parent early and young? Or do you want to adopt early or have, foster? Are you like, what are you willing to take on that?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like that in my head is like, do I want to do that to somebody? But at the end of the day, I always say you have to live your life. And, if somebody really likes you for like you and was really in love with you, then they have to know. I hate it's so cliche, but it comes with the territory at this point in the game. But it's just so.
Whew. It's heavy, man. Yeah. But it's real.
Yeah, it's
and
real.
It could happen to anybody. Like I heard the story like of this couple. They were on their, like they were about to get married or they just got married or something like that, and they were in Hawaii, and the husband got in a crazy surfing accident and was like paralyzed from the neck down or something like that. And like the husband said something like, when he knew that he was paralyzed, he like said up to his wife or something like that. He was like, you can leave me if you want to. Like, we just started this. Like, I won't even be offended.
Right.
And she was like, no, tough. Yeah. I love you. Like, we're staying together. And like it's so tough to think about. But like, it can happen to anybody. Life can change in the blink of an eye.
In an instant.
And you never know. Like, before you were diagnosed, it wasn't even like you were thinking about stuff like that.
No, I wasn't.
And it can all change. It's pretty crazy. Life
is interesting, but it can be wonderful if you make it, So
very true. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to end the podcast on a sad note or anything like that, but
never.
It's the reality of the situation. It's true.
This is real. This is what this is about. Is getting to know people and real people deal with real life issues. And you're letting me talk to the listeners out there and letting me get my message across, and which is my message is positivity and going out there and doing things and giving the side of like this disease or this type of person that you would probably never ever experience in your life. So that's why I'm thankful for doing this.
Of course, man. I'm glad to give you a platform. And like I said, in the beginning of the podcast, I think everyone has a story. If someone just meets you, it's not like the very first time they meet you, you're like, oh, what's up? I'm Darius. A doctor told me that I have like 3 to 5 years to live. Like, that's not the first thing you tell somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, that's not how you start off a normal conversation.
Exactly.
But it's cool that I can give a platform like that. And I think more people should be giving platforms to people like you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because, you have a lot to say, and it's an important message, I think, that we all need to hear.
Yeah, and anybody listening to this, if you think you have a message out there, it may not be in the form of a podcast, or it may just be your own video that you want to post, or you think people need to know, share it. We can all learn from each other.
Exactly.
We can all learn from our experiences, and you never know who you're going to touch. Like, somebody right now could be listening and be like, you know what? I've been noticing something weak in my hands. Maybe I should get that checked out. Or, maybe I've been planning that trip, whatever. And, listening to Darius and Andrew today, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So this is all about.
That's awesome, dude. Well, if people, I feel like that's a good place to wrap things up.
Yeah.
If people want to follow you or ask you questions or whatever, where can they find you, or where can they message you or whatever?
I really have like Instagram, DGILTM, DGIL. Facebook is Darius Gilchrist. Currently, my profile picture is like me snorkeling on the water somewhere.
Nice.
So typical of me, right?
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to link your social media accounts like in the description too, so people can click on it. But if they want to shoot you a message, Instagram DMs, is that a good place or whatever?
Fine. Snapchat, same thing, DGILTM.
And follow Darius on Snapchat and Instagram because he documents all of his travels and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, you had some awesome Snapchat stories when you were traveling, dude.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I was like, dang, man, because it reminded me of what I always do when I'm on the travels. Like, I'm always trying to document and show what's going on.
I'm not that person that's going to go miles across the country just to like sit there and relax. I feel like if you're going to go somewhere, go ahead and like see that city or that country or like do stuff, so
that's
hopefully
awesome,
we'll be doing that in July next year.
Yes.
In Belgium.
Yes, dude. Yes. Of course. And if anyone wants to go to Tomorrowland, hit us up.
Yeah.
Because we're going.
Yes, indeed.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Any other last parting words?
No. Just live your day Like it's your last. I'm gonna end on a cliche.
Very nice, dude.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and
Thank you for having me.
of course, man, we'll talk to you later, everybody. Boom. There it is, folks. 8 months in the making, but we finally made it happen. I'm really glad we were able to record this episode, and I'm really glad that Darius is doing well. I can only choose to believe that because Darius is doing such amazing things, experiencing so much, working out and taking care of his body, it must have had some kind of positive effect on his disease. Like maybe that might seem like pseudoscience, but I'm a big believer in preventative medicine as opposed to treatment, and I'm constantly inspired by him and the strides that he has made personally. In any case, seems to be working for him. And I just really want to thank Darius for being on the show, sharing his stories, and being vulnerable with me and with us, really. Can't ask for anything more than that. Also, can't believe that we got through that podcast without crying. I figured it would happen, but we didn't do it. We got emotional, but never got blubbery. Because we're men. Men don't cry. Crying's for wusses. I don't know what that was all about, but obviously I was thinking it would. I don't know. I was thinking we would cry, but we didn't cry. That was probably a good thing. But maybe re-listening to this podcast, I will be more emotional. I don't know, but basically, I just want to say that if there's a message here to take away from this podcast, it would be that we all only have one life to live, so start living it, and don't forget it. Anyways, if you enjoyed this podcast, I have a feeling that you would also really enjoy episode 47, called Progress, Not Perfection, with my friend Richard Corbett. And I have recommended this episode a lot recently, so I guess that just means that you're really missing out if you haven't listened to it already. But Richard is one interesting dude. He's a super talented artist. He's a bodybuilding and fitness freak. He's a college dropout. And right now he's working through a massive injury that left him wheelchair bound. And of course, he didn't let that stop him. He's on the obsessive quest of becoming the best version of himself. And I think anyone who's a fan of my show is going to love that episode. He's made some crazy physical gains this year, and he's actually walking around more and more without the use of his chair, which is insane because doctors told him that that would never happen, of course. So maybe we need to stop listening to doctors so much. But anyways, that was episode 47 with Richard Corbett. Go check it out. Last time I recommended his episode, I made a joke at the end that said, or maybe you hate people in wheelchairs, so you can listen to something else. And Richard just texted me yesterday that he listened to that episode and was cracking up about that part. So that made me really happy that he appreciated my sarcasm. I also have a feeling that you would really enjoy episode 45 with Hillary Billings. Hillary is one of the most fascinating people that I've met recently. She's like the epitome of what I love in a podcast guest. She's a host herself. She does on-camera hosting, red carpets, behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff. She's also a contributing writer for some huge publications. She's a former Miss Nevada, and after graduating from college, she was a full-time nomadic traveler, blogging about the experiences she was having along the way. She's visited tons of amazing exotic places, and no lie, I think Hillary has had some of the most fascinating stories that I've heard on my podcast. She also had to overcome adversity when she was left with some third-degree burns on her chest from a freak accident on the 4th of July. So I think the common thread here between all of those episodes that I just talked about is overcoming adversity and physical challenges. But anyways, Hillary's also launching a podcast this year, so I will be sure to let y'all know when that comes out. And I just wanted to point out that I just checked iTunes, and the recommendations that I've been making on the past few podcasts are actually being downloaded a ton. So I guess that means that y'all are enjoying going back and listening to those episodes, and I'm glad that y'all are actually taking my advice and going back and listening to the ones that I'm recommending. That makes me really happy and very excited that people are actually doing that. So anyways, normally this is part of the outro where I would tell you who the next guest is. But that will remain a mystery because I don't have an episode recorded yet. That's mainly just my fault in scheduling, since I have a lot of people who are supposed to be on the show soon. Hopefully I will have another episode for you guys on Wednesday. I think I might do a little update podcast where I just kind of talk about stuff, maybe answer some questions I've been getting. Also, I like giving some recommendations for other podcasts that I'm listening to. Lots of fun stuff. All kinds of fun stuff will be had on that episode. So like I said, hopefully that'll be out on Wednesday. And I'll have some more awesome guests, of course, coming up soon. But if you've made it this far and you're not sick of my voice already, I'm assuming that you want to support my show. Want to support our show. Because without you guys, there wouldn't really be a show, right? If you weren't listening, it wouldn't really make much sense to continue the show. So if you want to support the show, you like what I'm doing here, please go to iTunes and write me a review or just leave 5 stars. If you leave 5 stars, it's anonymous. If you write a review, I can see the username of the iTunes user. If you have an iPhone, you can just do it right in the Apple Podcasts app. It's really simple. If you're on an iPhone, you're probably already listening to this on the Apple Podcasts app, so it's one less step for you to go through. But it really means a lot, really helps me get my message out to more people. Also, if you want to follow me on social media, you can find all the links to my handles and accounts on my website, which is andrewdeitsch.com. That's Andrew, DEITSCH.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. I've got to go. I'm going to hang out with Katia Sarmiento. She was on episode 58, talking about some big-time stuff, secret stuff. Hopefully I can fill you in on what we talk about soon. But anyways, I'm rushing to get this episode out so I can go meet with her. But I will catch you all very soon.
Next thing you know, my girlfriend at the time is walking down the hall. She grabs my shirt. It's just like, you gay. In front of everybody.